I came out of the private equity investment banking business. I've been working with Steppe Gold. I was on the board from March 2017. I was actually involved in the sale of this asset, so know the project pretty well. And in a former life, have done a number of transactions in Mongolia, M&A transactions. So over the past 10 years. I'm the Senior Vice President and CFO of Steppe Gold. I was appointed to that role a few months ago, and as I said, prior to that, I was a board member. Steppe was acquired about 1.5 years ago by a private equity firm, and a team led by Matt Wood here at the top there, part of the team, and was then taken public in Canada on the TSX main board, which is a significant event in itself. It's the only mining IPO in Canada this year. It's the only Mongolian IPO this year. So certainly some milestones there. Just some highlights. The team, bad teams can ruin great assets, and we certainly have what we think is one of the best teams in country. Very few Westerners have made money in Mongolia in the mining business. Matt Wood is one of them. He founded Hunu Coal, took it public in 2010 at around about a $50 million valuation, and sold it about 18 months later for $500 million to Hunu Coal. It's not often you see that. The rest of the team has strong Mongolia experience. We have 2 Mongolian nationals on our board, and one of which, Bata Tumosha, has been our VP Mongolia for some time, and indeed is still advisor to the Minister of Mining, and Dr. Zamba Bachagal, who was the former Minister of the Environment. So very strong in Mongolia, and that differentiates us as well. Very few Western companies in Mongolia have that sort of Mongolian content. Steppe Gold has 2 projects. The main project is ATO, Altan Saban Obu, advanced stage gold project that was acquired about 18 months ago. The project really breaks down into a few portions, but we've decided to lead off with a low cost, low capital cost, low OPEX heap leach project on the first stage. Low capital cost, below $20 million, and will produce about 37,000 ounces a year at a very low mining, at a very low cost of $333 an ounce. Probably some of the lowest cash costs that you'll see anywhere in the world. Mongolia benefits from low cost. It also benefits from being right next to China, and then the procurement benefits that flow from that. The company, as I mentioned, went public in May, raised $25 million in proceeds, gross proceeds, and prior to going public, raised $23 million US from Triple Flag Mining Finance. In 2 tranches. The second tranche of that money is now being drawn down as we speak. The construction of the project is fully financed, so this project doesn't need any more capital. It is fully financed into production in Q1 or earlier. The project itself was formerly owned by Centerra Gold. Centerra spent actually closer to $30 million on exploration of this project, including 67,000 meters of drilling, which is very significant. We've drilled another 20,000 meters, or in the process of doing so, at the various targets at the project. As Tim mentioned, we have a small heap leach project, but what we do have is significant showings of high grade, and our first drill hole at the Mungu deposit, which is part of the ATO project, 46 metres at 15 grams per tonne. So that's again not something you see a lot. Matt is a firm believer that this project is at the end of or is part of a very large epithermal gold belt that goes into Russia. There are two very large gold projects on the other side of the border. This is right near the Russia-China border where that meets. There's two sort of 5 million plus ounce deposits that are on the other side of the border, also in the epithermal gold belt there. In recent drilling, we've started to see visible gold in the sulfide zone, so very high grades in that area, and we'll talk more about that. We have a second project, which we're very excited. We don't talk as much about it because I think our shareholders want us to be in production, but we acquired some very exciting ground in the south of Mongolia, in the Mongolia province, in partnership with the province, and we've got 4 discoveries at that project, which we'll talk a bit about. Shouldn't need to tell everyone about Mongolia, about the geography. Second largest country in Asia, a veritable treasure trove of rocks, great rocks. ATO here is up in the northeast. In the Dornod province, this is the capital, Dornod province, Choibalsan, which is about 300,000 people. ATO is a 7-hour drive on a paved road from Ulaanbaatar, the capital, and about a 20-kilometre drive on non-paved off that road. So very accessible. A lot of the projects down in the Gobi are certainly less accessible than that. The Russia here to the north, and there are some other projects in the area. There's a China Railway lead zinc project quite close by, and a number of others as well.
Where's the Mongolia discovery?
So Mongolia was part of the ATO project.
Part of it.
Yeah. So ATO, there's about sort of 3 sort of distinct chunks. There's ATO pipes 1 through 4. There's Mongolia, which is a very high grade, and I'll show you the picture in a minute. And then there's Weinmuck, which is sort of the end of the zone. We talked a bit about the people. Matt Wood, an Australian geologist, and extensive experience in Mongolia. Now a recipient of the Polar Star, which he received at PDAC this year. Not only successfully navigated an exit with Wunu Coal, but also just sold Avanco Resources to Oz Minerals. Oz acquired that for about $420 million, that asset's in Brazil. Talked a bit about butter. Neil Warridge comes from a capital markets background and helped put the deal together. That's me. We have a couple of other directors. Patrick Michaels is maybe known to some of you as a well-known fund manager in Switzerland. Dr. Bachagal, Lewis Marks, very deep experience in the trading area with Glencore and Mark Rich, and a great addition to the board. Sheldon Van Koy is General Counsel, Triple Flag, sort of our largest, our largest stakeholder in dollar terms anyway. Proven in-country team. I think Mongolia is really starting to come of age. I think the dark ages of 2012, 2016, where the government changed, I think it gave Mongolia a taste of what it's like without foreign money, and I think they didn't like what they saw, and that's really, I think, given rise to what I would say in my 10 years of working in Mongolia is the most the most mining-friendly government in some time. I think they, as Tim mentioned, they need gold to support the currency. The currency's at 2,600, and some of you who've been to Mongolia in years gone by can probably remember at 1,200 Tugaruk to the dollar. So that's certainly had an impact. Oyu Tolgoi has been a wrestling match with the government over probably 15 years, but I think there's a general sense that people are at peace with that deal now, and I think it's seen as a great success, and there's I think people are just getting on, and they're producing a lot of metal out of that mine now. Other Western companies in country have done pretty well, Xanadu, Odin, and Kincora, to name a few. I think Mongolia is definitely, as I say, definitely on a path to greater prosperity and stability. It's hard to be a burgeoning democracy when you're surrounded by Russia and China with no port. So I think with the IMF package and a reasonably stable government, they've got the governing party has about a 90% majority of the seats, and that's certainly good news. One thing we have invested heavily in is local community. You can't just get the feds on side, you need to have local community as well. Steppe was the first company to implement the government's Gold 2 program to support gold exploration, and certainly the support from the federal government of Mongolia for Steppe Gold has been significant. At Discover Mongolia recently, which is the main mining conference in Mongolia, we saw that in evidence. This is just some more examples of the ongoing relationship with the government. So this is the project. This gives you a sort of an idea of the topography of the area. You've got these bumps, these pipes, and so easy mining. The first stage of ATO is a heap leach. The consultants that we've had involved said it's probably the best topography for a heap leach they've ever seen, just in terms of grade, accessibility, access to water. We're essentially just drilling wells, so it sets up really well, which makes for a very, very low cost. 1.3 million ounces of gold equivalent. The focus really is to get into production quickly and cheaply, and looking to be in production here as soon as possible, but certainly Q1 of next year. The project is well advanced. All the major work streams, crusher, leach pad, and ADR plant are well advanced. Some of the grades here from the stage 1 drilling, those of you who are technical will see that those are pretty spectacular grades that you don't see very much. Fully permitted. This gives you a sense of the Mulgu discoveries here, and Bayan Mook is down the end here. This is the 1, 2, and 4. I think 1 and 4 are the ones. So you just lobbing the top off a hill really to start the project. This is the site. These are reasonably recent photos. We have a camp which is essentially 60 Mongolian gears. Actually very comfortable accommodation. Here's the camp building. Here's some of the drilling that's going on with the core on the top left. This is the pre-stripping construction, the crusher construction site. Got a mobile crusher that we brought in from China. The crusher footings being installed, and then sort of an overhead shot of the crusher. So essentially, it's a mine. It's a drill and blast mine, load and stack with the ore, and then into a crusher and on the leach pad. Very, very straightforward. There are about 3 or 4 other heap leach projects in Mongolia at the moment. So it's a well-established process and well known. This is some of the installation, again, recent photos of the crusher being assembled. Beautiful blue sky. It's getting cooler though. Here's some just some cross sections. The block model gives you a sense of the geology here. I mean, good grade for this type of project. You'll see much lower grades on heap leach. The economics from our technical report, reasonably straightforward. Again, low cost. So, I think we obviously can't put these numbers in a chart, but everyone here can do the math. If you're doing, call it 40,000 ounces a year at an average of about $333 an ounce, and your gold price assumption is about $1,300, and you're making about $40 million a year. Our market cap today, our enterprise value is even lower, but our market cap today is around $45 million, trading at 1 times cash flow. Again, it's not something I can say in Canada, but you can do the math on that. Valuation extremely low at this point, if you believe this company's in production in 6 months, which we fully expect to be. This is the Mungu deposit. Gives you a sense of what it looks like. We also think that this Mungu discovery is going to be replicated in other parts of the deposit area, and focus of the next 12-24 months, once we're in production, is to prove that out. We're doing a feasibility study on the wider project. It should be finished by the end of the year. But again, the business model of this company is very much to get into production, use that cash flow to drive development rather than having to go back to the capital markets on a regular basis. I think, unfortunately, the capital markets, certainly in Canada, are a lot kinder to the cannabis and cryptocurrency markets than they are to the gold markets. And so you want to get into production, you want to be able to self-fund if you can, and that's certainly the approach that we're taking. Some of the grades here at Mungu, very impressive. When Centerra discovered this was always the jewel on the crown. This was the thing that they'd actually agonized over the most in terms of selling this asset, was this Mungu discovery, because they saw how high grade it was and how easy to mine it is, and it just wasn't really immediately big enough for them to look at. So we're looking forward to proving them wrong and showing them the size of this project, which I think we're all well on the way to doing. Just another picture of the project and how it looks. Just going back, so I think the visible gold, I think, came from the drilling of this pipe here in the sulfide zone, and I'll show you a picture of that in a second, I think. Again, just some drilling. So what we've done is a side by side. Here's what Centerra drilled, and here's what we've done, and just give you sort of a sense of, I don't know whether we're just better drillers than them, or they're looking in the wrong place, but the results sort of speak for themselves. And 15 grams gold and 82 grams silver, would make all the geologists in the audience pretty excited. Recently completed a stage 2 infill and extensional drilling program. There are 3, up until recently, there were 3 diamond core rigs diamond core rigs conducting infill and resource extension drilling at ATO 2 and 4. Much of the drilling into the fresh rock. Again, this is an oxide zone with a fresh rock below, looking to do some more drilling over the next sort of 6 weeks until our season ends to prove some of this more out. So we are using other consultants to really help shape the overall deposit using SRK and DRA to pull that together, and there'll be more on that in the next couple of weeks here. So this is the thing that got everyone pretty excited recently here, the little gold specks in this drill core at ATO 299, and you can see the grade on those 212 grams per ton. I think super high grade is the only word you can use for that, I think. And pretty exciting stuff. And again, this is an updated depiction of Mongolia. My Chinese geologist friends, a number of whom follow this company quite closely, got pretty excited when we published this.
So eventually here will be underground mine, right?
Yeah. Well, I think open pit for the most part, but there will probably be some underground at some point. We have a CIL plant to process, so there will be some capex required, additional capex. But again, that's if we're producing 40,000 ounces at 1,000 ounce profit per year for 7 years, then that's a good amount of cash flow to fund both new capex and more drilling. So that's ATO, and again, we don't talk about this so much because it is still early stage, but we acquired some very prospective ground in the south in Mongolia, an 80-20 joint venture with the provincial government, the first deal of its kind, which we think will shape how Mongolian investment will take place over coming years. There are 2 adjoining licenses held by Erdene Resource. Erdene Resource is a market cap for about $55 million just on those 2 early stage exploration. We have significantly more ground than they do, so we're pretty excited about that. We are doing some trenching right now, which is essentially a horizontal drill hole, I guess, of sorts. I expect it to complete in the next few weeks. We've had some very encouraging results already from the ground magnetics, the geophysics, and the rock chip sampling we've done to date, and we're very excited about this. This gives you a sense of here are the 2 Erdene projects, Bayanhundi and Altan Nar, and then we have now 4 new discoveries in this bit here: Golden Arrow, Milky Way, Golden Steppe, and Blue Golden. Again, early days, but we feel like we've this is the I guess the sizzle on the steak in our view, in a very substantial steak at ATO, and drilling. So trenching now and then drilling next year. So I won't address all the highlights again. I did want to just talk about some upcoming catalysts. We are looking to complete construction of the project. So there's really 3 main work streams. There's a crusher, there's a heap leach pad with ponds, and there's an ADR plant which you use to turn the solution back into gold bars, and that should be completed in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Results from the ATO and Mongolia Gold and Silver program will have some more results coming out soon. We hope that they will be as promising as the early stage results were We are commencing the trenching program at the UK Budahundi project, and we are looking to issue a maiden mineral resource on the oxide deposit at Mongolia in Q1 2019, and hope to have that feasibility study done on the fresh rock, which is about 150,000 ounce of gold a year production. This is our share register, capital structure. As I said, we have about a $23 million US stream with Triple Flag Mining Finance. Our large shareholders, we're very, I'm going to pause here, we're very happy to have a representative from our largest shareholder, Lim Advisors here, a Hong Kong-based fund. Stefan White is here today, and I'm going to ask Stefan just maybe to say a few words.
Thanks. 大家你好，我的名字是 Stefan。我20年前在台北学中文，但是现在我的中文退步了很多。我就在香港，但是很少有机会讲中文，所以我今天想跟你们讲英语。对不起。
很好。
Lim has been investing in Mongolia for probably over 15 years, with a successful track record so far. No losses. We've principally been investors in the banking sector, but also in mining companies. Lim is familiar with this team, specifically with Matt Wood, the CEO and chairman of Steppe, having previously invested in Hunu Coal and made good money from that investment. I think Mongolia, as Jeremy alluded to, has gone through some difficult times over the last 6-7 years. It's a vibrant democracy. Like many countries around 2010, 2011, 2012, you've had a sense of resource nationalism and different political parties coming in, and they really did many crazy things to make it difficult for foreign companies to be investing in the mining sector. I think that they've learned their lesson in a very, very painful way, and I think that things have changed. Things have changed actually quite significantly, and the strongest testament to, I think, the change in the mining sector is simply Rio Tinto's re-engagement with Mongolia and their commitment to continue with the development of Oyu Tolgoi. And likewise, Mongolia, I think there's not a week that goes by where you don't have a senior minister or a senior businessman talking about the importance of foreign investment and making sure that you have success stories in mining, because mining is, after all, the most important sector for Mongolia. The reasons we invested in Steppe are numerous. One, taking a step back and looking at the macro. In Mongolia, we see a jurisdiction that has a lot of potential as a mining destination for gold, for copper, for coal, and some other minerals. There is clearly still a Mongolia discount, so there's an opportunity to be investing in Mongolia at a lower entry price than in many other jurisdictions. We were obviously familiar with the founders of the company, and one of the things that was particularly attractive to us and remains attractive is basically the very practical plan that management has to monetize this business and go into production. So the cost of the capital outlay to go to first production is actually very low. The initial mining process is a relatively simple process. So you've got a management team that's taken a very practical approach to first gold and how they're going to then subsequently fund their ongoing development. I think one of the very positive things since the time of the IPO has been the drill results that Jeremy was showing you during the slide presentation, which basically are a reaffirmation of our belief that Matt Wood and his team have chosen some very, very prospective grounds that where there should be good opportunity to be creating additional resource and reserves that are, hopefully fairly quickly to further extend the mine life of this project. So we think it's a very interesting investment for the opportunity to be producing very soon at a very low cost, and the opportunity to continue exploring and hopefully finding additional gold and potentially also some other minerals. Obviously, since, as Jeremy mentioned, it's been the only TSX gold IPO this year and the only Mongolian IPO this year. This has been, especially the last couple of months, have been a very difficult few months for all companies in the mining sector. And unfortunately, Steppe is no exception. So we have been, the share price has actually dropped below the IPO price. We've been, because we believe in the narrative and the thesis for our investment basically remains intact. We've actually been adding quite a bit to our position since the IPO with the lower share price, as have many of the directors. So for those of you that are here tonight that are not shareholders, I honestly believe that this is a great opportunity to be buying a business that has gone through the pain and the difficulty of an IPO and is now trading below that price. For those of you here tonight that are shareholders, I think that we'll be seeing the gains that we'd hope for quite soon in the next 12 to 18 months. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, it's a good register. I mean, that's the other thing I think comes out of this. Insiders and management, we're probably more than 13. I think we might even be more than 12 now. This is a really important, not something you see a lot of. Around 10% of the companies owned by Mongolian nationals. So, when I'm in Mongolia regularly, it's a source of great pride that Mongolia is invested in this company. Triple Flag Mining Finance provided the stream, as I mentioned. They're also put in equity. Not all that common for streaming companies to put equity in as well as a stream. And Triple Flag Mining Finance it was started by Sean Osmar, who was the CFO of Barrick, and Elliott Management. Elliott, one of the largest hedge funds in the world, run by Paul Singer. I think this is actually Paul Singer, personally, who owns this. R&R Venture Partners is the Estee Lauder family office out of New York. So we think we have a pretty illustrious group of investors who have, all these people who have backed Matt before, and again a sign of not just how difficult mining is to finance, but when you have good quality investors, that certainly is a huge help